Hi guys, thank you very much for joining me. Polina here, coming to you from Pisac, Peru. We have just gone on lockdown. The country is on lockdown due to coronavirus as of today. So very nice to be talking to you, and also what a beautiful time to be alive and to really recognize the worth and the values of your world. So this is a video, first of 13 videos for the transit of Saturn through Aquarius, which is going to start on the 21st of March 2020 and finish on the 7th of March 2023. Okay, so I have the two charts in front of me so I can give you some scope. So before talking about this transit, I'd like to conclude the transit of Saturn through Capricorn just to give you some meaning and to give you some context as to where it all ended up after Saturn went through its global sign of Capricorn. So Capricorn is its home. There is nothing to do. Okay, so Saturn, by the end of its transit through Capricorn, should really have everything packed and placed. There's not really that much bother anymore, I hope, or I feel, and certain things should just be stable and still. There's also something else happening to all of us, I feel, as we are going to start to embark on a brand new adventure of thought before we really solidify it into the now. So Capricorn Saturn is more the finished product of what you are here to sculpt, perhaps the finished version of a home that you love the most, or the finished, more robust version of the masculine in yourself or within your relationship spectrum. So Saturn to me is kind of like the god of stability and the god of connectivity of all things and becoming real here and now. It is the most physical part of a chart, Saturn, and it also indicates a lot of things like what you hope for, what are your values, what are the things that you need rigid in your world, what are the things that you're making real, what kinds of places do you like to frequent, and what kinds of homes do you like to live, but also where do you structure and where do you become stern. But please don't take this too seriously as well. So by the end of Capricorn, Saturn should probably be here now in a very, very nice stilling place, as Aquarius is a very fixed sign, of course, obviously, and finishing up on this very, very beautiful note in this incredible stellium between Jupiter, Mars, Pluto, and Saturn. You know, Saturn should really now be one of the most profound pictures in your life. Perhaps now we're understanding the global situation. Perhaps we're understanding location. Perhaps we're now recognizing our fathers. Maybe we are still to recognize, but we're becoming a little bit more robust and real about what is known. So it feels to me that information and practicality should now be very, very well advised or understood. It feels to me that we should have no nonsense about who we are, what we want, and how to get there, and also the different processes and the different orders of things that keep things together. But may you please be pleased, because by the end of Pagaya, we really should not have a dark sky, dark cloud on the sky. So by now, it shouldn't really be about that large message or that large need or that large, grotesque, deliberate connectivity that perhaps Saturn here suggests. It should also be kind of watered down and mellowed out by a very beautiful glow that Pagaya should provide by the end of itself. So here we are in red, and what I believe is that before we embark upon Saturn and Aquarius, we should really just believe and trust and be okay with it. So we need to just trust the patterns of karma. We should probably trust the patterns with men or also with any kind of predatorism by now. If there were signs of predatorism in your family karma or in your own life, maybe we need to really come to terms and understand the different types of figures and archetypes that we are embodying, and also, of course, those that embody us in a sense. And which way to go here is very simple and very uncunning. So there is a simplicity to Saturn finishing up at the end of Capricorn here, and there should be no qualm about which way should you have gone. Why you've got this happening, why you've got that, perhaps your stability in your structure, the way that you run your business, the way that you run your house, or the way that you run yourself, and also the different ergonomic systems, the biological systems should now be completely not a mistake, like it should not be an issue. Also, if you are with a father figure now, or you are conceiving as a father figure, or if you are the main part in a picture, also maybe consider what is it to be of self? What is it to be of sustenance for another? What is it to be a father or a person bound by fatherhood? And also, what are the different types of, I suppose, leaders, fathers, or creators that you have around you? And what are the different types of the masculine that basically are living amongst us? And what are the truths of the feminine as well as the masculine together, and how it all sort of like crafts itself together and into one? Also consider your home, your country, how you're running things, what you do, what kind of fuel you put into your vehicle, what kind of food do you allow into your house. All of these things should now have oh my gosh, sorry, have a nice center, because Saturn sometimes requires kind of like a center point, a center point version of itself. And sometimes also Saturn will require a certain level of trauma, because it wants to grow even further than it is when it goes into Aquarius. So what I mean is there needs to be a certain crack in the system as well. So it can't be absolute, it can't be the absolute honest golden mean, because Saturn's also a sign of time and honesty and punctuality. So it feels to me that there can't be a complete whole, because then the irony of life is lost. And if there is no more irony, that means that there's not going to be enough growth or enough concepts to fulfill the further structure of Saturn. And also, it feels to me, and maybe it feels to us all, that things are undone, or that are coming back to a certain type of format where things need help, things need mending, or things need restructuring. And one of the greatest things about Aquarian Saturn is that we're going to start to really see it all in perspective. And it feels to me that also at the end of the year, as we are now at the end of the solar year, which is finishing on the 21st, 22nd of March, we have to really start to see things as stable and able and connected and global and good. And I also believe that we have to believe, and trust and breathe life and breathe air into the new, and start to no longer talk amongst each other about really trivial things, and not make any conversation or any plans that are based around unsound or unhealing territory. So your integrity is really important here. The integral parts of your character really go a long way. And what are those different brilliant ideas or brilliant things that you bring into another person's world, and why? So the most incredible part about this first year, 2020, that I believe is going to really, really collapse it all in order to restructure it again, is just to know us, to understand people, to understand one another, to be well established in a demographic is really important right now. Also to have absolute knowledge of the different types of groups, and also, yeah, for sure, viruses and bacteria and disease, and how things pass things on through each other and between each other. Also understanding the different structures of homes and societies, and the different types of global purposes that sometimes a human person may have or may need in order to keep themselves advancing. So human civilization, the advancement of our species, and all of those things that we need to really take care of, know, and understand are going to be very, very perhaps hard to get for some people, and very, very easy to understand. So I also trust that during this particular transit is very important to be fetching, and to know how to fetch, in a sense, because we're going through a rat year in the first year of Saturn going through Aquarius. Thus, we have to have a very, very good mind and a very, very good uncorruptible technique to get what we know we want or we need. So there is a lot of perhaps controversy happening during the first part of this transit, during the first year, as we need to be really, really on top of it all, and perhaps have many a goal, and also to have a mindful eye and a mindful heart as to what it all means, the context of things, and everything else that it takes to exist. So one of the luckiest things for us now is basically to have a no-nonsense concept. So I trust that, for example, if you know where you belong in the world by the end of Pig Year, and you can kind of tell the greater capacity of your work or your worth or your karma, and you realize the different types of components and systems that you have to maybe survive or to thrive. It's a very, very beautiful time to basically relive certain aspects and also to include and incorporate new threads and new aspects into your world. And also, don't be afraid of the mind during the first part of this transit, because the mind really kicks in. And there's certain people that are going to start to show as uncorruptible and no nonsense. And I also trust that there's going to be many of us that are going to start to come through as masters and perhaps people of great idea and great thought. And I also believe that many of us, especially as Jupiter starts to eventually dance with Saturn in the same sign of Aquarius, many of us are going to really be, I believe, vulnerable enough to ask the right questions and also stable and robust and masterful enough to be able to answer others. So, here in the first part, we are kind of like treasure chests for each other. And I trust that many people have certain resources, certain information, or certain technologies that each other may want. So, in the first part of this particular transit, I trust that there must be a certain type of share and a community-based development, perhaps, that Saturn is going to base in a more broad and a more global spectrum, maybe, and there's going to be a lot of exchange of ideas and frequencies between us. And it feels to me that there's going to be a new growth and a new sense of light coming to the planet as people start to develop their own tactics and each other's also, to be able to thrive on this planet in a new advanced way. So the second year to me looks very, very hopeful and very true. So this is where Aquarius is graced by Jupiter as well, and may feel a little bit annoying because the next year is the year of the ox, and we're going to have Saturn basically become one of that which it trusts and it believes. So we have more severe grouping, we have more advanced psychology take place in a social setting. So it might be that people become very enormous about immigration. It might be that people's homes or people's security becomes one of those things that they really, really like to talk about. There might be a mix and match of different products of different designs, and there could be a lot of mixing of material. So it feels to me that ingenuity is, yes, something that is going to happen on an ethereal level in 2020, and in 2021, it just feels like it's going to become a little bit more strong and a little bit more developed. And it also feels to me that there is a new evolution of the heart happening as people really start to cluster. So because of this, I feel we also might have a lot of bad dreams, because it feels to me that 2021 will bring about a bout of extremism, and it could be that people it could be that people will become very, very sensitized and very, very intense about things that they previously didn't even notice. So it feels to me that 2021 we might have a security lockdown, or we might have a very, very bright new beginning for certain people because they have relocated, or it could be just about forming like clans and hubs of the future, or it could even be some kind of very, very intense device where people are actually put into some kind of camps or some kind of like habitual situations that perhaps they no longer need. So there could be also a little bit of trauma there. So the grouping and regrouping of people as Saturn is going through that second year of Aquarius, I trust, is going to be one of those very, very epic dreams. So it's either going to be bread and butter in the earth and the things that people valued throughout a long, long period of time. And I believe that a lot of conservatism will start to evolve, or even devolve through over evolution. So there could be like an overgrowth of consumerism, or there could be like an overgrowth of certain needs and certain tempers, even. And also, it feels to me that the political system might be very, very emotional, very intense during those particular months, because it feels to me, and even years, there are going to be very rigid and very rock hard ideas formed by about 2022. And as then Jupiter goes through Pisces, is going to be a little bit more mellow and a little bit more nice. So by 2022, I trust that Saturn is going to play a little bit of a less tragic role, okay, for us. And it feels to me that by 2022 year, we need to really, really be of mind and of full capacity to really know and understand what it was that we really wanted as a species and where we were in the end. It's like we have to really ask ourselves, what are the kind of ideas and what are the kind of freedoms that we really, really want to evolve? Tiger year. and Jupiter going through one of the scariest signs for itself. Jupiter does not like Pisces because it is about loss and conservatism being completely melted off and turned into just putty. So there's going to be perhaps a very, very different type of ego coming up during 2022. So it might be actually really, really good to watch depression. Depression, any kind of suicidal or deep, harsh edges in the character can actually lead to a lot more than we know. So there could be an acceleration in Jupiter as it's going to pull Saturn behind it. So Jupiter in Pisces is going to pull Saturn along, and we might not really want the results that we get in the end simply out of the prisms that we're going to be able to see, which are going to be epic, ginormous, philosophical, philanthropic reasons. And it feels to me that by the end of 2022, we're going to start to really see the reason of it all. So Tiger year, Jupiter in Pisces, and this incredible Saturn lagging behind it in Aquarius, I trust is going to be one of those very, very harsh dreams. But at the same time, I believe that the arts awaken again. I believe the psychology of the human mind and the human body is going to start to revive and reform. I trust we're going to actually find a lot of psychology between the lines of anything. And I also feel that the counterpart or the prism for the counterpart is going to evolve massively. And I think that all of those old stories about love and the game of love and everything to do with people, society, community, politics is going to just basically dissolve and drop dead in a sense. And I also believe there's going to be very new, perhaps less economical but more profound meanings coming out of the human collective. And I also trust that by the end of 2022, as Jupiter goes into Aries and we see the last end of Saturn in Aquarius, we're going to really, really evolve. And I trust that as we slowly make ourselves out of 2022, we're going to emotionally energize, maybe even too much, in order to really, really speak about what we know is happening in the world, what we understand as the real picture of life, or the real face of trauma, or the real galactic, global, emotional, all so mighty, evolved and also involved in anything and everything. And as the tiger year turns to rabbit, suddenly it's going to be a very fast change. In 2023, I think we're going to start to mark up a new perfect Aquarian territory. So that's where we get our crayons out. So this is the last phase of Saturn in Aquarius. We're going to get our crayons out and we're going to start to really paint the picture, draw the picture. We're going to start to draw up this rainbow blueprint that we've never seen before. So as 2022 wanes, I trust that in 2023 we're going to start to actually really marvel at ourselves and start to give each other this feeling of just best joy and best of luck and patting each other on the back and understanding our community as one whole. So it might be a huge global issue that raises up, and at the same time a ginormous global friendship for everybody. So by the 7th of March, when Saturn walks into Pisces and Jupiter is going to be in Aries, very, very well embedded, very close to Chiron, we're going to really start to receive, I trust, and all of these dreams, all of these visions, all of these global societal, maybe even economic or just even vibrational realities and re-nurturings, I should say, are going to start to come true. So that's where you really fully fulfill yourself and see the global picture. But until in Pisces, before in Pisces, Jupiter is at its best. And then afterwards, as we swing into about April, May of 2023, it might not work if we haven't had enough trust. So Saturn's always like time, structure, trust. And these worlds that are perhaps too unique to be true right now are going to start to come to fruition for those that have also developed some kind of mental, physical, financial, and practical capacity to really deal with human life at the same time as evolve the journey of the greater human, the greater global reality. So yes, it should be like a very, very interesting resculpting and revamping and repackaging time for all of us. But if you did dream something for a long time and it hasn't come true in Capricorn, that's when it's true that it will not come true. So one of the things that is very, very important for us, I believe, okay, as I'm recording this during the coronavirus outbreak on the 16th of March, um, it is very, very lucky for us to basically do okay with what we have. And I've been asking you guys for a long time to just basically come to terms with the significance of your world and where everything is now. There's many people that don't like the end of the year as well. They don't like the turning of tides, and they don't feel right about what or who hasn't yet manifested, come true, or completely become a counterpart, or completely become a partner, or a practical part of your life. Like, there are so many of us that are still kind of jumping around or kind of feeling nervous about the fact that we haven't yet done something. So we haven't yet written that book, or we haven't yet managed to have that debut, or we haven't yet become or assumed a certain space or place in society. Now, those anxieties have to be really, really put to rest. So by the end of Saturn Capricorn, there just must be a certain type of feeling of just human trust and kindness. There must be a closure. You must now see what comes your way. Okay, you must just now understand what people are genuinely interested in you and what people are not. If your business is on the rocks, that's okay. There is trust in that as well. You know, if it's not happening yet, if it has not come true, there are no big journeys inside of that. So 21st, but even now already, like we're feeling this glow, 21st of March 2020. And before, you know, you should probably now have that compassion for yourself, not to push yourself any further with your business ideas or with your money or with your partnerships, not to try to trust things too much that are just not happening. If it's not real and robust, if Saturn hasn't put it into that block, if it is not real, if it is not here, there's not going to be perhaps that much likelihood that it will one day grow into that or mature into that. So if your seeds haven't raised as seedlings, you know, if you haven't yet established that place in the world, if you still don't have that house, if you are still mindy about money and how you make it and what your stability sequence is, if you're still not sure about who that partner is, or who's that guy or that employer next to you, or even who your father is, if you are still not quite sure, the packaging is kind of finished. And we're just now basically getting used to the fact that we're going to concentrate on other things. If your house is not built, if your place is not found, if your guy is not there, you know, if your community is nowhere near complete, if there is this feeling of incompletion, there must not be qualm. Now, by this phase of Saturn going through Capricorn, as we are here in the middle of March 2020, that should now be okay. And the way basically now you do is you function socially and perhaps economically as you would from this place forward, from this platform forward. So these foundations are probably going to bring to you a lot more than you know. It's just more about being grateful and having the grace to accept and perhaps achieve result with what you've got. So it's like clay, you know, it's like being sculpted, it's being dried, it's being oven baked, you know, almost. Okay, it's almost oven baked. And now, because of this platform, because of this person, because of this house, because of this level of you, because of your job, because of these securities and these robust facts, or these father figures, or these scopes, or because of how you use time right now, there's going to be a lot more coming. And the medley of experiences that usually provides us closure and perhaps a coming out of sorts during a red year, the medley of experience depends on how good you feel with what you have. So it's like as good as it gets. Some of this is as good as it gets. So if you feel good in here, if you feel good, there's going to be much more coming out to the surface, and it feels to me there must be more light, or there must be more spectrums or more variants happening in the next year to come. But these have to be also taken with a pinch of salt, because red sometimes drags home things that it doesn't have to drag home, and sometimes rat has a very unsophisticated collector's nature. So we have to enjoy the simple bass, but also allow the complexity of treble in a sense. We have to also let other things form us as well during this first part of Saturn going into Aquarius. And sometimes we can't wait to have it all at once, or we can't wait to see it all, or to set it all right, or to place it all together. And coronavirus or not, I believe that there is going to be a lot more magic and beauty and whim in this world than meets the eye right now. And it feels like it's just about this overall global glow that Saturn in the last degrees of Capricorn should provide. So I hope you feel embedded. I hope you feel open. I hope that you feel clean. I feel a lot of trust. You know, I feel that there's like a lot of care and trust in the air. And I hope that you can see other people now for who they are. And perhaps you don't put your hands into different people's pockets just because you like what they seem to be. There needs to be a very strong core center to know what you are bartering during Saturn's progress in Aquarius, to know who you're approaching for what and what you are expecting from another person. So it's like not expecting a carrot to be a pineapple, okay? So not expecting oranges to come from an apple tree, you know? There needs to be a certain demographic reality and sobriety that accompanies you during this time. Otherwise, we can really go off into our own little world and actually forget as to who, what, or why we're asking. So, making sure that in the first part of this transit, you know who you are and you realize the social psychology about you or around you, or which way you go as a part of a whole. So, your demographic value, your charisma, your courage, your sense of self, your sense of worth, your sense of representation, respectability, and the like. So it's a very, very beautiful social time to achieve, but these have to be in context and in sobriety. So thank you very much. Enjoy societal sobriety in the next 2 or 3 years, and I hope that it gives you a lot more than before. So take it easy, be free, and enjoy this fresh Saturn. Thanks. Bye.